In Nigeria today, private universities are owned by individuals, business enterprises, and religious bodies. Statistics show that currently Nigeria has 40 federal universities, 44 state universities, and 68 privately owned universities as approved by the Nigerian Universities Commission, NUC. The deregulation of education in Nigeria is a deliberate effort to break government monopoly on education, thereby giving freedom to private participation in the provision and management of education in order to check the incessant strikes by lecturers in public universities, improve the quality of education, and return the lost glory in the nation's university system.
It is obvious that why we are here is because as a nation, we lack this sense of urgency, this sense of immediacy. We don't have, a sense of fidelity to things that we voluntarily enter into. It's quite unfortunate that the federal government entered into an agreement to make a certain quantum of funds available for the running of universities over a period of time. And between the time the agreement was entered into, the time it was validated, and now, 4 years, that was the last time it was validated, till today, the federal government has failed to honor its part of the agreement. And it's quite unfortunate. It shows, the kind of attitude we have to education, to the building of generation of Nigerians, to the sustenance of the values that we inherited from our forefathers on the educational system. And so one wouldn't blame ASUU for resorting to this last, for coming to this last resort, which is embarking on industrial action. One will only hope that this will spur government now into taking the necessary action. Don't forget, the last time the strike was on, it dragged on for so many months, almost 5 months or thereabout, until the then President Goodluck Jonathan personally entered into dialogue with ASUU. That was the famous meeting that held in Abuja for 17 hours. That was when that deadlock was broken. Now, I think this government has a benefit now to learn from that.
Ironically, most Nigerian leaders benefited from the public universities when they were all well-funded with scholarships, free meals, free accommodation, stipends, and high-quality facilities for learning. All that is history.
It has so much affected the academic calendars of universities, public universities in this country. And apart from the parents being under pressure, that their wards are not even allowed to complete their programs in the universities. Incessant ASUU strike continue to interrupt academic calendars. This is enough to destabilize any further. And again, they should have the patience to engage the government amicably with the mind of having an agreeable solution to the matter, rather than embarking on strike all the time that can disrupt the nation's academic, the education sector of the country. The government should be credible enough to at least abide with whatever agreement it has reached with ASUU.
And maybe why they are not serious over these issues that most of their children are not in Nigeria. It's unfortunate. Children at home, what are they doing? You see, you are now engaging them in immoralities, where they shouldn't. They are now engaged in crimes, where they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be in school. Now they are now with their parents. It's going to be prolonged. Instead of spending 4 years or 3 years in school, they're spending 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. I was saying the other day that the agreement was entered with the previous administration. Government is a continuous rulership. So what you inherit, you must ensure that you build upon. And if you have anything to innovation, then you add to it for progress and growth.
A public affairs analyst, Leonard Anyogo, opines that there are other options other than strike, which the parties have not employed.
Has always been an agreement between these parties, and it's the failure of the agreement that has always led to strike actions. But I want to see that we move away from the strike action, because the effect, the multiple ripple on the economy is such an unwholesome development. We call on ASUU to look at other options that are available that they have not really explored. Like, of course, the National Industrial Court, that they have never looked at. I don't think ASUU has actually approached the National Industrial Court, which is a neutral body that can force the implementation of this agreement. Of course, the present dispute is a result of the 2009 agreement that ASUU has alleged that the federal government has not implemented. Of course, they have shortfall in their salaries. There's an allegation that they are being paid maybe 80%, 60% in some cases. So we want to see ASUU take the federal government to this National Industrial Court. And the National Industrial Court is purposely set up for industrial dispute. And that court can actually force the implementation of this agreement. I mean, the effect on the economy is quite alarming, because you are cutting off the whole generation of students that ought to graduate as at when due. And of course, the psychological trauma that comes out of it. When you are supposed to spend 4 years, and end up spend 10 years, 15 years, I mean, it's unheard of. You know, so we want to look at that option, that take federal government to court if you know that there is a breach of such an agreement. And the court can even issue orders that this agreement must be implemented, because an agreement is between two parties actually. So, you know, there's the fear sometimes is that the court is there will be delay, and then federal government will not honor the court. But this is a constitutional democracy, that you can now ask the court to even garnish the account of the federal government. A garnishing order is actually will force the government to pay up and live up to their obligations, their financial obligations.
Mr. Anyogo decries the incessant strike as the only options always explored when there's a disagreement.
Of course, the effect on the economy is quite unwholesome. You know, where it's a multiple effect, because parents are being forced to send their children to private universities with exorbitant cost. And of course, where there's a psychological trauma of not being able to pay the fees in the private university, what do you expect such parents to do? Of course, that leads to corruption too, because where your income is basically cannot sustain private fees, and you do all sorts of things to make sure that a child stays in school. Of course, that's the one angle of it. Corruption is not just stealing money, but where you cannot meet up your basic obligation, you'll be tempted. So, and then of course, a system where a country where the educational system is disrupted, you know, it's a laughing stock in the Committee of Nations. As at the time the child gets to the university, it's supposed to be 16 years. Sometimes you're like, okay, by 2021 the child should be off from the university, and not that you are well planned, and then you end up a child of almost 30 years has not graduated because of this incessant strike. And then you know, all of us have lifespan, the life expectancy. Because when that is interrupted, the life expectancy recently is like 47 years for a Nigerian. It's as low as that because of the challenges we have. So by the time you graduate at 35, 30, 35, even 40, what is your productivity level to the economy? The private universities are uninterrupted. You know that you are going in for a 4-year program, 5-year program, 6-year program, as the case may be, depending on the course, and you are getting the result. But on the other hand, very few persons will be able to send their children to private university because of it's quite exorbitant. And so most parents want to, go the whole length to send their children to private university because we are sure of the duration of time. And if you look at it, because of this strike action too, the public university has become expensive. Expensive in the sense that if you are supposed to spend 4 years and you are spending 5-6 years, the colossal effect, the financial effect of staying at home and all that, it's almost like a private university.